try to give an instance of what terrorism is not. In 1944, the British Royal Air Force sets out on a bombing mission. The target is the Gestapo headquarters in Copenhagen. Perfect target. The planes loose the bombs, drop the bombs, and they miss. Instead of the Gestapo headquarters, they hit a children's hospital, and scores of children are horribly killed. This is an accidental, tragic outcome of war. This can happen, but it is not terrorism.
So don't think this land of Palestine is some trivial land that some of us may think. This is the land of the prophets, the land of the messengers. There's not one handspan except that you find that either a prophet or angel has prayed inside that location. This is the land of Awwal Qibla, first direction of prayer that we find for the Muslims. And some even mention the first building that was built even before the Kaaba. This is the land of ulama that we find is what this land is. When people say this land is some downtrodden land, despised land, has no value or anything, it didn't create anything, go back and read history. Ibn Hajar Asqalani is one of the most outstanding scholars to this day in what he wrote, what he left behind his Turath. And in his works he compiles and speaks about this story. It was known as Ma'arikatul Qadisiyah in the year 636 of the Islamic Hijri calendar. This great battle that took place where Amir al-Mu'min al-Khattab, he's a leader of the Muslims. And the other side that we find that Yazdagid III, the leader of the Persians, his great empire. al-Khattab places Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas to be the general of the army. King Yazid places Rustam, Farkhzad, to place him as to be the leader of his army. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas goes into the battlefield. But before he goes there, he meets Abu Mihjan al-Thaqafi. Remember the one who wrote the lines of poetry about drunkenness? He's a companion. He smells alcohol upon him. He's drunk. He says to him, you can't participate. Just like we say to that Muslims, the level we all need to be pure Muslims, good Muslims. Muslims are good. They have a zeal inside their heart, inside their mind that sometimes goes beyond us so-called religious people. He stops him. He says, you can't participate. You're addicted to alcohol. So he ties him up and leaves him and he goes. Abu Mihjan al-Thaqafi, he narrates, he mentioned, when I heard the sounds of the horses, the fighting, I began to itch inside my mind that what am I doing? What am I doing that I'm not participating inside this battle of Qadisiyah? So he says to Salma, the wife of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he says to her, look, just let me go. Just let me go and I promise you I'll return back. I'll come back and I'll place myself inside these fetters, these chains. I'll put myself back inside here. So she has some compassion towards him. She undoes his chains, unlocks him. He jumps on Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas' horse called Balqa. He jumps on the horse and he rides. He enters the battlefield in a state of losing. He enters the battlefield and everyone begins to visualize this individual fighting this man, and Sa'd ibn Waqqas says to his comrades, that looks like my horse. That looks like Abu Mihjan al-Thaqafi, but I locked him up at home. The way he fights, his ferociousness, his strength, his power, his courage. He's not a coward. He returns back and he places himself in the shackles once again. Sa'd ibn Waqqas returns back home and he narrates, says to his wife, I saw something strange today. If only I hadn't left my horse Balqa at home and tied up this individual, I would have thought my horse was there. I would have thought Abu Mihjan al-Thaqafi was there fighting with us. That his victory was being given to us. She then discloses that I released him. I released him so he could go to fight. He said, Qum fa wallahi la ajluka fil khamri abada. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas says, get up, I'm not going to punish you anymore for your addiction towards alcohol. Abu Mihjan yaqulu ana wallahi la ashrabuha abada. Abu Mihjan said, I'm going to give it up in my life now. I'm not going to drink ever again inside my life. So all this that we see inside the world, that for us and normal Muslims, what can we do inside our lives? Is give up our sins, give up our disobedience, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to strengthen us, strengthen these individuals, the hardships, the calamities, the difficulties they're going through inside their lives. For that fortifying us, that's what they're doing. As we mentioned previously, the last straw is Baytul Maqdis. Masjid al-Aqsa is the last symbol. Imagine this just for a moment in time. Imagine if today, if people try to attack Ka'bullah, Kaaba, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Baytullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people try to attack that Kaaba, what would happen? What would happen in the Muslim world today? Every Muslim would rise, would they not rise? And you know something, Islamically, the blood, one drop of a Muslim's blood is more precious than the Kaaba to be taken down brick by brick. One drop of Muslim blood in the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more precious than his house. That you dismantle it brick by brick live in front of the world, it means nothing in the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One drop of blood is more precious. Every life is precious. Those children that we see every single day, we're all visualizing. We are living in history today. Mark my words, we're all part of history. We're all part of history today. That we're written down in history that either you took a stance or you never took a stance. It'll be written down. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all those individuals patience and strength, and given that due reward inside al-akhirah given to them, give us strength and ability to remain steadfast upon the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.